The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcome should be.
Well, what? Hey, how did you flip to the top, Nom? Did you do that?
Didn't. No.
What that?
I was
What's
the
up,
first one here,
everybody?
That's why.
Happy Monday, folks. I hope you all had an awesome Thanksgiving. How was everyone's Thanksgiving? Nom, SK, did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
I did, actually, considering.
We did too. So Mrs. Nom for about the last year is saying she wants to learn how to make sourdough bread. And so together this weekend, we figured out how to make sourdough. We've been working on a starter for like 2 weeks. It turns out, by the way, sourdough starter is basically a science project. I don't know if you guys know that. It's basically a science project. And we had some very acetone smelling sourdough. And then I did a little bit of research. And then we had beautiful sourdough starter. And now we've got 2 loaves of sourdough. And we got another one we're going to cook tomorrow. I have a feeling that my ever expanding rear end, as I sit in this chair nonstop, is going to get bigger.
Well, sourdough will do that for you. It's good for your gut, though. So Patriot Mom is all about sourdough. She's all about all of that kind of stuff. And she had a sourdough starter that we lost in the fire, unfortunately. The problem is baking sourdough takes work. So she just bought it from people. Like there was people in our area that would literally deliver it to us. So we'd have a new sourdough loaf delivered about once every 3 or 4 days at our home. And we're gonna have to restart that here. Folks, just a heads up, SK Nom, this is for you guys as well. I'm getting a lot of buffering. I'm up here in the northern Midwest and we've got a storm rolling in. We've gotten expecting to get about 4 inches of snow tonight. And apparently it's affecting my internet. So if there's buffering, if we accidentally jump all over top of each other and you hear me trying to cut in or that, I apologize in advance, but that's just the way the show is going to have to be today. But we have got, sorry, SK, I see you getting ready to say something.
Did you see the message that I sent in the studio chat?
Oh, hold on. What's it say? Data. Oh, is she?
Maybe.
Should we try to bring her on, or is she just
going live? I was like, does anybody have the timeline for this whole thing for me? Because I'm lost and we're starting the podcast right now. And she started responding to me and I was like, do you want to join? She was like, sure, send me the link.
Man. That would be incredible. If
So we'll
she
see.
joins, we are going to scrap the entire outline and just let that a Republican roll.
She can talk all about this whole subject.
She
can give you
is
the whole
in the
timeline.
house.
Entered the
she?
studio. All right, folks, you guys are going to have to chat for a second. I'm going to create a new setup here so that we can bring her on. But we actually have an outline. We have some things that we were hoping to talk about.
I don't see us on Rumble, by the way. I don't see the actual, I see the chat, but I don't see the actual video streaming to Rumble.
It looks like
This
it's
is an
on.
actual shit show, you guys.
It is, but that's okay. We should probably check that. I see people commenting. I can see people commenting from Rumble, which tells me we're live. We have to be live or they wouldn't be able to comment, I suppose. But we actually have an outline to go through. And we have apparently a new, very important, very prestigious guest who's going to be joining us. And I can't wait to get her up here because this is right up her alley. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but it sounds like some folks in the Republican Party are starting to get the message that many of us have been screaming with the top of our lungs about this ongoing color revolution that's been taking place here in this country. It's been going on for a very, 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 very long time. And over the weekend, I started to hear a couple of people talk about it. Did you guys hear the senator from Missouri, Eric Schmidt? Did you hear what he had to say the other day? No. We're going to bring this up. You guys have to hear Eric Schmidt, who, by the way, was an incredible attorney general in that state, who I think would make an awesome attorney general at the federal level. But he is finally starting to speak the right language
weekend.
Here's
The
Eric
Democrats, elected Democrats, not some online troll, elected Democrats have been saying it's okay to disobey orders. That's the first step. But what we saw happen this weekend through some of those same elected officials was to say basically to military men and women, look out, you might get prosecuted. This is not the language of we'll beat them in the next election or we'll win the argument. This is the language of a color revolution where you're calling on military men and women to disobey orders, and you put that on top of the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, the riots you see in the streets, the prosecution of a political opponent. The Democrats have completely lost the plot here, and the American people, I think, see that. But it's a very dangerous road to go down here to say you should be disobeying orders because we don't like Trump.
It is about time. Yeah, I think she's here. All right. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna create another view so that we can bring her up. So Data Republican, give me 1 second. And I'll create a spot for you on our screen here. So hang on.
Look, I've been
you
completely off social media for like 2 weeks. I have no idea what's going on in the world. And we go to start the podcast, which I did not prepare for. And I opened the outline as we're going live. And it has this whole thing about SK with the details when they started organizing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not ready for this. And look, she comes in to save me.
Amazing. Amazing. So before we get down that path, I would just like to throw the offer out to all the Democrats that are going to be running for election or re-election next year in the midterms. Please, God, please run on the platform that we should be allowing Venezuelan narco-terrorists to bring weapons of mass destruction into this country that are killing over 100,000 Americans a year. Please, for God's sakes, please run on that platform. I dare you. In fact, no, I double dog dare you to run on that platform.
They are running on it. Did you see what Chuck U. Schumer said 3 hours ago? 3 hours ago, Chuck U. Schumer over on his X account was posting that if Donald Trump doesn't stop attacking Venezuela or Venezuelan drug runners, narco terrorists, they're going to file a war powers, whatever, legislation to stop them. Somebody want to explain to me why the Democrats seem hell-bent on protecting narco terrorists? Does anybody know? SK, can you tell me why, maybe Data Republican, why are the Democrats so hell-bent on protecting narco-terrorists?
I bet Data Republican can tell us.
Oh, she's thinking about this good. This is going to be good.
You're good. Don't stress at all. I promise.
No.
This is so laid back. We get like 12 viewers.
There's more than that.
I know.
This is not a Mike Pence live stream, though, but for what it's worth.
GP Wolko over on Rumble says there's 31 on Rumble.
There's 31, so not 12.
I still can't see.
That's just on Rumble.
Rumble's still not playing for me. It's live. There it is. I'm not sure if her audio is connected.
Data Republican, is your audio connected? We can't hear anything.
No, we can't hear.
Okay.
You're muted now. We
That's
can't
okay.
hear anything.
Oh, she's muted.
That's a,
She wasn't. She
well,
is
now
now.
she is. She wasn't. That's all right. Let's
It's
do
okay.
this. So
It's okay.
there was that was really just a facetious question. I think we all know why the Democrats are so hell-bent on protecting narco-terrorists. I think we know why, because they're captured, and they've been captured for a very, very long time. I mean, you have a senator in the state of Arizona, Ruben Gallego, who, if I'm not mistaken, his dad actually served time in prison for this type of stuff. Like, these people are captured. They're captured. That's the bottom line. So yes, Democrats, if you want to make a part of your 2026 platform defending a communist dictatorship in Venezuela and stopping the Trump administration from blocking the flow of hundreds of millions of dollars of life-ending narcotics in the United States, go right ahead. That sounds like a really good campaign platform to take. But the thing that I was hoping that we could get to tonight. So Republicans are now starting to talk about the color revolution. The problem is they're late, very, 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 very late. You see, this panel, this group of people, Nom, SK, and specifically Data Republican, have been warning the American people that we are in an active color revolution and have been for a very long time. For a very long time. As a matter of fact, I think the beginning stages of this probably goes back decades, definitely years. But we started talking about this color revolution when the Tesla takedowns happened. That's the first time I started talking about color revolution in the United States, was when the Tesla takedowns started happening. We saw them starting to organize their efforts in the streets, and it all had a plan. So while the Republicans are now finally starting to pick up on what's happening, they're already well beyond just the color revolution phase. It is my contention, and I think anyone that wants to correct me if you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. They are now at the final steps of their color revolution, which is the full takeover of the federal government. That's where they are.
Yeah, I absolutely hope that Data Republic can get unmuted, because the 7 steps that I've been referring to in my TikTok videos we've been using on here came from her page. It came from her post. The understanding of these 7 steps that listen, folks need to grasp this concept, right? So this was a practice. These color revolutions is a practice that was created and perfected by our own State Department, our own CIA, leveraging USAID funding and NGOs, because this Data Republican and Mike Benz and others will tell you that the NGOs did the work that the federal government was not allowed to do, right? So in doing that, they have then taken that capability and they've turned it inward on us. And I think what PatriotDad is trying to say, and Data Republican, I hope you can get unmuted on your end, because we need you in here. I think you're muted on the StreamYard side of the platform.
Yeah, she sent me some texts that I can read to you. Let me just tell her.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. She said that the color revolution stuff is really interesting because all of the NGOs involved in color revolutions were created to stop communism in the first place, and now they're defending communism. And it's all the exact same NGOs, just like we talk about every time. It's always the exact same NGOs. And when you were asking about Venezuela, she said she sees 2 reasons why. One, the cynical guess would be they benefit from the drug cartel money somehow, which is what we were talking about earlier. And she said, 2, the rational guess is that they know that Venezuela is an important axis for Iran and China, and they're afraid of disrupting that and disturbing global stability. And their entire identity is about global stability. And she's not wrong. And I've been saying this whole time, since way before we started this podcast, that the countries that are working together to try to undermine the United States government and to make it a global, the only thing standing in the way of global governance is the United States. And it is Iran, China, Russia, a little bit, Venezuela, Cuba, the cartels, and Iran's proxies, the terrorist networks. And they're all working together. They've found a common goal in basically trying to bring down the United States because that's the last barrier. Even though they don't have the same end goal, the United States still stands in the way, and they have to get the United States government out of the way before they can move forward with their plans.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. I have a question for Dan Republican. I have a question for everybody on the panel, right? You get rid of the United States. Is it the system of government that they want to get rid of? Or it's the Constitution? We know that. Do they think they just get to keep all of the gross domestic product and all the productivity and the economy and everything that makes this country who we are from a productivity and a wealth standpoint? Do they think they just get to keep all of that if they just wipe out everything that created it in the first place? Or are they willing to forego the productivity and the economic powerhouse that is the United States so that they can have their global governance? You can't have both.
I would love for her to answer. Is there a way for you to
She's
invite
muted.
her to unmute?
I've tried. So we can't unmute her. She is muted. She's muted herself. So all the way at the bottom at the StreamYard.
Oh, there it goes.
Down at the
It's unmuted now. Try it. Let's see if it works. Just try something.
Yeah, try to say hi. No, we don't hear your machine, your system.
Mm-mm.
We don't hear your system.
Dang. This stinks. She can text it to me. I'll read it. If you want to just text it to me, I'll read it.
Yeah, have her text it to you. I'd love to hear her perspective on
Me
this. I have an
too.
opinion on it. I have an opinion that I think is one that has been born out of years of studying economics, particularly the history of economics, and how we get to this place. So, first of all, I think it is important to note that it is people at the highest echelons of the progressive movement. Larry Fink, for example, who was the head of BlackRock, and if I understand now I think he's the head of the global. He's the head of some massive global organization. He is on record saying that markets, from his perspective, prefer authoritarian style economics. They prefer it, and he used China as his model for what he believes the future of economic stability in the world looks like. He says that markets prefer command and control style economics because they're more predictable, right? But here's the problem. We kind of read the revolutionary communist constitution, and to your question, Nam, do they think they get to take all of the production? Yeah, they do. They think they get to control it. They think they get to own it. They think they get to determine who has what piece of it and how that productivity and how the means of that productivity are to be distributed, because they think they are smarter than everybody else. They think they are more capable of defining how every nook and cranny of the economy should function because they're morons. But that's the hubris that they operate under.
Listen, Data Republican's texting me what to say. And she said that she's been using a word on X a lot lately. The word is autopoiesis. And I'm like, can you spell that phonetically? She's like, no. Oh, I'm like, duh. So I have no idea how to say it. But
how do you spell it? Spell it for us.
It's auto. Well, it's okay. The singular is easier because it's autopoietic. I think it's AUTOPOIETIC. But when she used it earlier, she said autopoiesis.
Autopoiesis. No idea what that word means. Yeah, my mind is blown. I have a pretty good vocabulary, and I have never heard that word.
Yeah, me either. And I have a huge vocabulary. But she said, anyway, what it means is that an organization starts measuring itself solely by its own outputs. Like they literally can't process any external feedback. Think like middle managers make up their own year-end goals and pat themselves on the back for meeting them, even if the goals make no sense to the outsider. Similarly, the whole global governance system is autopoietic, whatever that means. They measure democracy on Freedom House indexes, and Freedom House doesn't really care about poverty, about literacy, quality of life, etc. which is why you'll see increasingly irrational behavior. These people would rather let in millions of migrants to virtue signal their own democracy than to solve actual problems. They don't even acknowledge problems exist outside of democracy. And then she said, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Amazing, beautiful sense. I think this is all well and fine, but the part of the equation that they leave out is that we're going to allow this to happen, and we're going to go gently into this. There's no future. I'm sorry, there is no future where you rip the capital or you rip the ownership of these businesses away from these oligarchs. I'm sorry, that's what they are. Or you rip it away from the business owners and you turn it over to somebody else without a fight. There is no way this happens. The U.S. economy will be destroyed if this happens.
That's the plan. They've wanted to shift the center of global economic power away from the United States for a long time. They've wanted to shift it over to China. They've wanted to shift it over to these command and control systems of economics and government. That's the plan. So if a few 100,000 or million or tens of millions of Americans suffer and die as a result of it, they're okay with that. Because as Cat Sass 5X over on Rumble said, and I think she just perfectly summarized autopoiesis by saying they believe their own bullshit. That's the problem with progressives, is they believe their own BS. They read Karl Marx and they don't realize that Karl Marx was a failure as a human being and was literally laughed out of his family and out of public society and private society because he was a failure. His entire economic system was designed out of greed and failure. That's what it was designed out of. Entire thing.
He was a total loser who could not succeed in life. And he was just trying to figure out how he could get something for nothing.
A life loser. All right. So we got to advance the conversation here. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because we've kind of glossed over this over the last couple of weeks. I think Nom found this post, one of the things that Data Republican pulled together. And it's so specific and so important to understand, but we've touched on it, but I don't think we've actually spent enough time really diving into the 7 steps of a color revolution. And I think it's really important for every person listening to the sound of this podcast to know that when Donald Trump stepped into office for his second term, we were already at the end of step 5. We were already there. What you've seen over the last 11 months is just an acceleration to get to the end goal, which is where I think we are today. So I want to pull this up and I want to kind of talk through this. Why is it, what is that showing you? Is that showing you the Patriot Source Podcast logo?
Yeah, it's just the logo.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So the first, so let's read through this. I want to go through this with the audience. And I think if Data Republican has anything that she wants to add, because this is her output, I think it'd be really valuable. So maybe she can text that to you, SK. So step 1, pre-election conditioning, build civic networks to be able to start conditioning the American people, or really any country for that matter, to start the process of conditioning. Step 2, election day monitoring, deploy domestic and foreign observers, run parallel vote tabulations and exit polls. They've been doing that in our media for decades. You've heard about this when you see the polling results come out at the end when polls shut down. How often have you walked away from that thinking, why does the exit poll say something very different? Well, because they were preparing you for things that they were getting ready to do in vote tabulation machines later in the future. Number 3, discrepancy identification. Frame official results as illegitimate if they diverge from the parallel count. Hello, we've been hearing about that since Donald Trump first stepped into office back in 2016. From day one, the Democrats and the media immediately started framing Donald Trump as an illegitimate president. They were doing that to George Bush. Like him or love him, you cannot deny the fact that they started on step 3 all the way back in the 2000 election cycle, when they immediately started claiming that the results were illegitimate. They've been softening the American people to step 1, step 2, step 3 for 2 decades or more at this point. Step 4, counter-elite activation. Support opposition leaders who call for mass protests, strikes, and civil disobedience. We've dealt with this step in the American lexicon for decades, going all the way back to, remember the Wall Street sit-ins that they were doing?
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. I mean, this goes all the way back to the 60s, actually, but they started to operationalize it as a tactic to create division, to start dividing the American people, group by group, color by color, gender by gender. This has been going on for decades. Number 5, international amplification. Ensure foreign media, NGOs, and governments all declare solidarity with the opposition and question the incumbent's legitimacy. Folks, these 5 steps have been in play for decades. And this is what Data Republican and SK and others over on X have been carefully cataloging for months now. The work that this team of researchers have been doing shows you that this goes back to the 90s. It goes back to the 80s. SK, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk just a little bit about what you guys are finding and how far back step 5 actually goes.
Well, I don't know if I can answer that as well as Data Republican can. So she can text me if she hasn't figured out the sound yet. But I do know that the 80s is when Soros started to get more involved. And then in the 90s is when the federal plan started. So the UN started getting more involved, pushing the federal plan. And that evolved into different plans. Right now we're in Agenda 2030. Let's see what she's saying. She said, yes, it's important to realize that although a lot of the actual methodology came from Gene Sharp's research, it is still all emergent behavior by NGOs. They operate in every single country that lets them. This is not an exaggeration, even the most obscure African countries at this point. And she's also not wrong because remember, Alex Soros just started a new organization in Africa. I can't remember what it's called.
Not to distract too much, but I do see someone in the comments saying this includes the Vatican and the Catholic Church. Is the Vatican pulling the strings of organizations like Catholic Charities that was responsible for millions and millions of illegal immigrants being shipped up here from Central and South America?
Catholic Charities is involved a lot in the migration.
But is the Vatican connected to that?
I'm not sure exactly how connected the Vatican really is. I mean, they're connected to a degree because of Catholic Charities, but you also have to remember you have the UNHCR, you have lots of other NGOs as well. Cherokee Federal was one. She said you should think a color revolution as less like a villain twirling his mustache and saying, hey, let's start the Rose Revolution, and more like an immune system which activates whenever a leader they don't like is put in place. These are different groups doing different parts of each steps, and they don't necessarily collaborate, but they know what to do instinctively when it's time to, which is very accurate because when you're researching all of these different groups, they use all the same language, and it's like they just understand what each other are saying, and they put out these plans and these playbooks, and they have these meetings. And when you're watching them or listening to them, you can understand that they're all, whether they're actively working together or not, they know how to speak to each other. They use the same language. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But you also have to remember all these people go through the same type of pipelines. They all go to school at similar places. They're all certain types of scholars that are the ones leading these things. They all have the same type of, I mean, I always joke around and say, I don't know what a CIA agent's resume looks like, but if I were to guess, it's like all of these people. They all have the exact same resume, and they're all doing the exact same thing. Oh, I think she's texting me again. Okay, let's see. She said, yeah, that they do instinctively know when it's time to. She said, I'll also say that I was very, very surprised that I didn't find here are the steps to pull off a color revolution strategy when researching for her book, which, by the way, she finished her book. The deadline was today. It's done. So congratulations.
Yes.
And she said Gene Sharp and Norm Eisen are not so specific. They still pretend it's organic. We just are making them more resilient or whatever. She said, I'd say, too, that one of their tactics for taking over something is they change the definition of words, say resilience or health or democracy, then dictate the conditions to which one experiences that word. They can make up whatever they want to include, providing for all the social determinants of health to fulfilling all the SDGs. I view the NGOs as the tool to move the money to whatever they want. Oh, this is Lisa. I'm in our group text. This is Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. Everyone's
Does Lisa want to join too? Come on in, Lisa.
We're gonna have, if Lisa wants to join, she can join too.
You guys, I'm an actual shit show right now. Like literally, I am an actual shit show. Okay, so Lisa says that she views the NGOs as the tool to move the money or whatever they want. She said, like Jenica said, under the guise of achieving said word. If you watch the Common Purpose UK videos, Brian Garish talks about overnight, how they went overnight. They went from very few NGOs to over 17,000. And then Data Republican said, so I picked like 7 color revolutions and had to reverse engineer the common steps between these 7 color revolutions. She said that's how she came up with the 7 steps. And when Lisa responded to the one about, I'd say too that one of their tactics for taking over something is they change the definition of a word. She said kind of like all of the purple dots on that map that we posted. Remember Data Republican? Yeah, that map, I think it's had over 1 million views last time I looked. I found the map from October of 2024, and there were just a few dots here and there. And by November of this year, the map is completely covered with dots. This thing just grows. They just keep coalescing and adding more groups, and they start new groups. Like daily, they start new groups, new NGOs. And I found that hub, the Democracy Hub, which is all the funding. There are thousands, I think, on Democracy Hub, which is backed by or started by the Democracy Funders Network, which is the Omadayar network. They put all of the NGOs in one place. So whether you're an NGO looking for funding or you're someone with a foundation looking to fund an NGO, you can go to this website and you can apply for money, and then they just give it to you.
That must be nice.
Unbelievable. So
these are our group chats. Super, super entertaining.
Well, I'm in a group chat with you, and I know how entertaining those can be. So I can imagine the 3 of you guys collaborating or more, however many there are. I'm sure they're entertaining. So it wasn't just Eric Schmidt, the senator, who's starting to openly talk about the fact that we have a color revolution going on in the country. I don't know if you guys saw this, but General Mike Flynn was recently on the Steve Bannon show. And I want you to hear from the general to hear what he had to say.
Was used for a color revolution. One, tell the audience, what do you mean by that? And who's in charge? Who's in your best thinking, who's driving this color revolution against the people and the sovereignty of the United States?
Yeah, I think that right now, when we have to really take a hard look at what happened all the way back to 2016 under Obama, and I think that Obama is still in the mix here. I think the operational commander on the battlefield here in the United States of America is John Brennan. I believe that. I mean, that's my gut. I think that there's enough indicators out there for the types of activities that you look at what John Brennan has said, what he's been talking about. I do think that Obama is a part of the command structure when we talk about, I'm putting it into military terminology, but I believe that that's part of the command structure. There is an international component to this. I call it the axis of resistance. The axis of resistance essentially consists of communists, both that are emanating from the CCP's control, but also communists inside of our country. I mean, you know, if people don't believe that there's communists in Congress, you know, go look at the way that they voted to get rid of socialism. I mean, what it was, 92 didn't vote against socialism as part of the functioning parts of our government. I mean, so you got communism, you've got Islamism, you've got these narco cartels, these terrorist groups that are also part of this. It's not just Hamas and Hezbollah. It's FARC and it's the Cartel del Sol. I mean, you have a combination of organizations, and there are people that are at the, you know, sort of at the pincer of it, meaning the pointy end of the spear that are organizing and controlling some of this. I mean, all you have to do is read their damn doctrine, which I have.
All you have to do is read their documents, which we have. Unfortunately, not enough Republicans have done that. Not enough people who are in elected position that should be talking about this stuff openly, aggressively. This is the number one issue in the in this country right now. This is the most important issue in the country right now. It's the fact that literally, while these Republicans are just now starting to get the word color revolution on the tip of their tongue, they've already moved past the first 5 steps. And we saw the implementation of step 6 just a couple weeks ago. We saw it. And now, while people are starting to ask questions about whether or not Mark Kelly is guilty of crimes, which we're going to talk about in the Seditious 6, guess what? They're already beyond step 6 now, because you have active, you have retired, you have former military personnel openly saying that they are going to defy the president of the United States, that they're going to defy orders given to them. If they are, they have been successful, folks, at dividing the military. We're at step 7. We are right now at step 7. Do we need to throw that back up there? Let's put it back up so we can look at what step 7 is real quick. Step 7, transfer of authority. Insist the incumbent concede or be forced out. The counter elite then assumes office with immediate diplomatic recognition and donor backing. Folks, they're already past step 6. They're at step 7 right now. And the Republicans are just now starting to wake up to the fact, as SK continues to say over and over again, it is first and goal, and they are on the 2-yard line. And Republicans have 1 player on the field, maybe 2 players on the field that are actively engaged in this issue.
And you guys, they publish their playbooks. This is what gets me, is the fact that no one is doing anything to stop this. And they literally tell you what they are going to do before they do it. These plans have been in motion for a long time. They literally publish their playbooks. They call it their playbooks. And you can see what their plans are. They openly discuss these things, yet somehow all the Republicans are just sitting around like, well, we don't know what's going on.
Well, I mean, listen, I think it's clear that there's a certain subset of elected Republicans in Congress, the Senate and the House, who are fine with this because they're happy to go along to get along. There's no question about that. I don't think there's much that Congress can do. I mean, their job is to write bills and pass laws, unless they're going to pass. Well, they can talk about it. They can hold hearings about it. That's all well and fine. The only one who can do anything about this, frankly, is President Trump and the DOJ. And they have to start charging these people with crimes. They have to. Whether they'll stick or not, I don't know. Because as we know, as they've taught us for decades, the process can be and is the punishment in large part. Look at General Mike Flynn. He was completely bankrupted. He was forced into a plea deal for something that he didn't do. The FBI 302 that originally came out of that interview of General Mike Flynn said that there were no indications that he was being untruthful and that he was lying. They doctored the 302. They put him through the process and they bankrupted him. And then they started threatening to arrest and indict and charge his son. That was the process. Do that to each and every single one of these people, and you'll start to slow them down at least. And people will start to ask questions. Do I have the ability to defend myself against the Department of Justice? And the answer to that is probably no.
Well, the problem that the Trump administration realizes that they have is when Mike Flynn was being prosecuted, there was a willing and actively participating judiciary who went along with it. Yeah. And yet you now have, under the Trump administration, you now have district court judges who are literally making up laws as they go along to try to protect people like Letitia James and James Comey. I mean, they literally, the judge wrote a word into the law that didn't exist. She interpreted the law in a way that it was never written to be interpreted. You have, in the case of, in one of the cases that was, I think it was the DC District Court who recently ruled, I think just a few days ago, that Trump has exceeded his authority by ordering the National Guard into Washington, D.C., is Gia Cobb. Gia Cobb is a district court judge who's a freaking sorority sister of Lisa Cook, who sits on the Fed Board of Governors and is currently being charged and prosecuted for mortgage fraud. The problem that the Trump administration has is they have a district court judiciary, and maybe even some at the appellate level, who are engaging in judicial sedition.
So are you telling me that, real quick, SK, and then I'll pass it over. Are you telling me that we have people that are engaged in judicial insurrection, who their job is to protect the rest of the people that are engaged in the insurrection? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, okay. That's nice to know.
And you have to remember, there's a whole network of Soros-funded prosecutors. This is all part of the plan.
That's exactly right. But it's not just Democrats and district court judges. Do you guys remember 2 episodes ago when I asked the question of whether or not the Republicans in the Senate and maybe some of the leadership in the House were engaging in judicial or in legislative sedition? Looks like maybe Data Republican has something to add.
Yes, she said, yes, it's very important to note that they have fully captured the judiciary and will always, in capital letters, that'll always protect their own. Look what happened to James Comey. Mark Kelly could commit murder in daylight and they would not do a thing about it. And that is true. It's disgusting, but it's true. This is why they feel so brazen. They can do these things that they do because they know there are no consequences. There have never been any consequences for them. And this is where we are today. They've taken over the entire judiciary.
So it sounds to me like the only recourse that unfortunately the entire country has, and frankly the Constitution has at this point, is in the Southern District of Florida, where they're putting together the years-long seditious conspiracy case. The grand jury is meant to be impaneled, I think, January 11th and January 12th on that. That sounds to me like that is the only jurisdiction that will have any ability to look at this, because, by the way, Mark Kelly and the rest of you guys, you just started over the statute of limitations clock with this because it's all the same groups and it's all the same people engaged in all the same conspiracy. So the statute of limitation clock just started over with your Seditious 6 video. Thank you. And it sounds to me like the only place that they're going to have any recourse is down in the Southern District of Florida, because everywhere else is completely captured.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm crazy, but that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I think you're right. But as far as what Congress could do you think that Congress could write legislation to limit the power and ability of some of these NGOs? Do you think we can take the dark money out? There's the way that they have all these pass-through organizations. Do you think that the funding should be more transparent? How do you think that they could go about writing legislation that would actually fix this problem?
Well, I mean, first they'd have to have a will. So while she's typing that out, I'll go ahead and throw my 2 cents in while she's typing that out. First, they'd have to have a will to do it. They don't. We know that. And number 2, we still have a filibuster in the Senate. And you don't get anything passed unless you get a 60-vote cloture out of committee. You just don't. Or a 60-vote cloture on the floor to end debate, which you don't. And I don't know. We don't have 60 votes in the Senate to do a damn thing. So, I mean, it seems to me like you've got 2 branches of government who are perfectly fine with the sedition and with basically overthrowing the other executive branch and saying, we're good with it. We'll see you. Oh, she had to leave.
Yeah, she needed to go,
Yeah.
but she did say, I wrote a whole book on what I see is the only way to fix this. She said,
Well,
but it's a
I
full
can't
book
wait to
leading
read
up
it.
to that. I'm so
That's
excited about the book. So excited.
that-
I may or
so
may not have had a
unfortunate.
couple of sneak peeks. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we know. We've heard a little bit about it. So unfortunate. If you get a chance, let her know that it was her text to speech audio that we couldn't hear. It wasn't coming through. So just let her know that.
Yeah, she thinks that it was a hardware problem on her end.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I mean, we've got more. I think you were getting ready to go somewhere, PatriotDad.
I was
in my neck of the woods.
Well, it is in your neck of the woods because I'm going to keep
I don't
harping
think he
on
knows
this.
I'm down here yet, by the way, but he's going to know very soon.
Well, he needs to know.
That NomDePlume is in Mississippi.
And the reason why that's important is because, we keep talking about how the Republicans in the Senate and leadership in the House, and honestly, quite a few House members in the Republican Party seem to me to be actively colluding with the Democrats to try to stop the agenda that we voted for. I think it's pretty obvious, but it's now becoming even more obvious. Did you guys see this? Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, who happens to be NomDePlume's new stomping ground, has decided that he's going to throw his hat in the ring with the Democrats and is going to start demanding a full investigation into the Washington Post alleged claims that Pete Hegseth gave a double tap order to, quote, kill them all regarding the first bombing of the narco-terrorist boats out of Venezuela. So I want to be clear. Has anyone read the Washington Post article yet? Has anyone read it?
No, and I don't plan on it because it's the Washington Post.
It's behind a paywall.
I would not line a bird cage with that because it's not even good at soaking up bird urine.
The Washington Post wrote an article just the other day, maybe it was today, I don't know, saying that they had two anonymous sources close to the matter, saying that Pete Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody on that boat.
Good.
Anonymous sources. Folks, how many times do we have to talk about the use of anonymous sources for the purpose of laundering information?
Apparently too many.
So let's look at the timeline, shall we? Let's look at the timeline. No, you got something to say. Go ahead.
I do. I disagree with the premise wholeheartedly. When you're bombing something, you blow it up. And if you miss some, you blow it up more. And if you miss some, you hit it again until it's not there anymore. That's the entire premise of fucking bombing something. You potatoes.
You crack me up. Do you think, though, that this also has more to do that there's more to it than just the trafficking of substances? We know about Margarita Island. We know that I found a hearing from the 90s where they're talking about the training that was taking place at Margarita Island. They know there are terrorists being trained there. Do we think they're also moving people that might not want the best for the United States?
People that move illicit substances always move people. I don't
mean like human trafficking, that type of people. I mean like terrorists.
Well, they're doing that too.
They're doing that too. So because the Washington Post decided to write an article alleging that two anonymous sources have said that Pete Hegseth actually did his job and ordered the complete bombing of a boat that was filled with narcotics, we now have Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, who is the chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee, agreeing with Democrats and calling for a full-scale investigation into Pete Hegseth off of two anonymous sources. Just to give you a little bit of background, the Steele dossier, the Russian collusion hoax, the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington kid hoax, the Biden laptop hoax, the border whipping hoax. You remember that one where they accused border agents of riding around horses whipping migrants? That was a hoax. COVID. How about the Coast Guard swastika hoax? How about Pete Hegseth's Dulce Volt TAC 2 hoax? All of these hoaxes are anonymous source hoaxes, just like the one that just got lobbed at Pete Hegseth. And a sitting chairman of the House or the Senate Armed Service Committee says that we need an investigation into Pete Hegseth.
I have not been on social media at all in like 2 weeks. I was on for like 15 minutes today, but did I see a press conference with Caroline Leavitt where she was talking about who ordered the strikes?
Yeah, she said it was the Navy Secretary, the Secretary of the Navy, I believe.
And
so she didn't push back on the idea that the second strike happened. What I think she is arguing is that it wasn't Pete Hegseth that gave the order. And either way, I don't particularly care. I agree with Nom. If you got to hit it twice to take everybody out, so be it. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of using international law to determine what we can and can't do when we have hundreds of millions of dollars of narcotics flowing into the country, hundreds of thousands of Americans dying every year as a result of it, and who knows what is coming into the country. I'm not okay with that.
And didn't Obama literally kill U.S. citizens without due process?
He did, and we didn't get any investigations for that. We didn't get any of this.
And I have it on good authority. I have it on good authority from an anonymous source that the kill them all quote actually came from Obama when he was ordering American citizens to be bombed in Middle Eastern countries. From an anonymous source, of course.
That would not be a stretch because he joked about it. He joked about how good he was at killing people. He's like, I didn't realize I was going to be this good at killing people, but I'm really good at it. He even made a joke at a White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think in 2012 or whatever, where the Jonas Brothers were there, and he warned them that his daughters Sasha and Malia were big fans, and he said, "I warn you, Predator drones." I mean, he basically used it as a joke and a warning because he was so proficient at killing people with Predator drones, and it turns out he actually killed American citizens without due process. By the way, since we like talking about due process, there was no due process in the decision to kill Anwar al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son. None whatsoever.
No. So who is Roger Wicker? Because it's important for you guys to understand exactly who makes up the rank and file of these seditious Republicans who are colluding with Democrats to stop the Trump administration. Well, Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker has an F Liberty score, according to the Conservative Review. An F. Like how is it possible to be a Republican and have an F score? How is that even a thing? Like, I don't understand how that's possible.
I do.
Someone help me out here. How can you be a Republican and have an F Liberty score?
Well, I understand because Mississippi is very, 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 very red, and nobody challenges this guy because he's obviously, relatively close to senior leadership in the Senate. If he's, the chair of the House Armed Services Committee, which is a very important committee, by the way. He's been in the Senate for 20 years. He was just reelected by a huge margin back in 2024, I believe. And he's up. And he's up for re-election again in 2030. Hey, Mr. Roger Wicker, NomDePlume lives in your state now. We don't know each other, but we're going to. And by the way, in the next 4 years, I may decide that I want to run for the fucking Senate because of this. I don't think you want that to happen. I don't think you want that to happen. NomDePlume for Senate in Mississippi, not this asshole.
No.
Roger Wicker, I'm coming for you, dude. And that's not a threat. I'm coming for you politically.
Can we at least have your campaign slogan and all of your campaign posters say NomDePlume for fucking Senate?
Yes.
You mean this Roger Wicker who back on November 4th of 2025 was celebrating Dick Cheney, who, by the way, I think you can make a really strong case is an actual war criminal. Vice President Cheney was a dedicated public servant. He was a consistent advocate of a strong U.S. military and was defender of the American way of life. I'm thinking of his family and loved ones today when Dick Cheney passes away. This is the way he remembers Dick Cheney, who was instrumental in lying to the American people to take us to war in Iraq, who, by the way, I was convinced that he was telling the truth. And he lied to me and everybody else to take us into war. And yet Pete Hegseth is supposed to be fully investigated because of two anonymous sources who leaked to the Washington Post just a week after Mark Kelly and the Seditious Six realized that, holy shit, we need some cover here because we just basically violated the law and accused the president of giving illegal orders. And since there were no illegal orders, they had to make them up. They had to manufacture them. Folks, the only time
I'm not done with Roger Wicker yet. I'm not done with him yet.
The last thing. The only time you use anonymous sources, at least in this climate, is when you're making shit up. That's it.
Well, that's just, I mean, history has proven that with President Trump. I mean, that's all they do is anonymous sources, and every single time it's a lie, it's a hoax. Well, by the way, Roger Wicker, I have not been down in Mississippi very long. I've never heard of you, right? And PatriotDad and I and SK, we spent a lot of time doing this, and for more than almost 25 years, I have been very, very deep in national politics, and I have never one time heard your name. Not one time. I have not been in Mississippi for very long, but I've been here long enough for the superintendent that is building the neighborhood that I am currently living in because it's currently being built, drove past me the other day and he's like, hey, dude, I can't get you off my For You page on X, on Instagram, or TikTok. And we don't have any contacts at all. Roger Wicker, if I've never heard of you, I guarantee you there's a lot of people in Mississippi who've heard of me, and I will be taking your job if you don't change your mind very soon. I'm not joking about this.
Nom, you've got like 10 people or so on YouTube in the comments saying, do it, please, for the love of God, run. People are saying, please do it, Nom. They're putting praying hands. They're saying, do it.
Well,
Nom.
here's the thing. You might as well go ahead and start the organization now. Start pulling your campaign team together. Start raising money, because Roger Wicker is not changing his stripes. This is the same Roger Wicker who, not too long ago,
should be in jail for the rest of his life, if not executed.
Oh, we need to play that again. Hold on. We need to start that over. You ready?
Can be trusted in these negotiations?
No. Putin is a war criminal and should be in jail for the rest of his life, if not executed.
So Roger Wicker thinks it's okay to go in front of a camera and say that Putin should be jailed or executed. And yet he wants a full investigation into Pete Hegseth based on two anonymous sources that the Washington Post pulled out of their ass at the exact time that the Seditious Six needed somebody to pull a hat or a rabbit out of a hat.
And John McCain is a hero.
Oh, God. All the wrong things, dude. Roger, you said all the wrong things. You have done all the... You do... Apparently, Roger does not understand where we are at this point in time. Or he does.
No, I think he does. I think he fully understands where we are.
Okay, Roger.
I think he is actively engaged in colluding with the Democrats because they think the only way they get back to status quo, where they can join each other with the Democrats at their cocktail parties and the money can continue to flow into their NGOs and their wives or stepmoms or cousins or sisters, charity foundation where most of the money gets laundered through, is if Trump is gone. Folks, make no mistake. The color revolution that we're all living through right now includes many of the people that you voted for. It includes them. They're participating in it.
But just for the record, it's the entirety of the left and some of the right. So there are still some good people left. We just need to figure out who they are.
That's right. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons why I'm okay with these Republicans resigning and leaving. Because if you're part of the problem, you got to go. If you're not going to be a stalwart defender of the MAGA agenda, if you're not going to do what Mark Wayne Mullins does when he goes in front of a CNN anchor, or if you're not going to do what Eric Schmidt does and start talking about the color revolution now, we have no use for you. You're actually in the way. But I think most of you know that. Nom, what are you typing?
Roger Wicker. No, I just found out who Roger Wicker was, which is shocking to me.
He's
the guy's a
angry.
freaking senator. He's one of 100 people, and we've been following federal national politics for a very long time at a very deep level. And I have never heard of this fuckstick once in my life, not one time until today.
Well, he's the chair of the Senate Armed Services Committee. I mean, he's been there for a long time, apparently. You don't get to that position.
Wait, he's on the Armed Services Committee, so he's with all the
chairman of it.
He's with the Seditious Six. They're all in the Armed Services Committee in the House or the Senate. Every single one of them are.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay. So he's tight with those fellas.
Who? The John McCains of the world?
No, the Seditious Six. They're all.
I think our next episode, we need to go through the background of all the seditious.
Roger Wicker's a senator with 127,000 followers on X. How embarrassing! How embarrassing!
I put like a short bio because you guys don't like it when I type a lot. I put a short bio for all of this.
We just have to figure out how to make it fit. All right, we're almost out of time, and we didn't hardly get through half of this agenda. There's so much to get through. I think no, it's good because anytime you get Data Republican, we love to have her because she has brought so much to this critical issue. I don't think most people would even understand any of this. SK, you're an amazing researcher, but the way she's consolidated this and spread it out across X has been incredible.
She's
been really powerful and it's very important.
She's absolutely amazing and she's hilarious. She has a great sense of humor. I love her. I absolutely love her.
We want to see more of. Hold on, we want to see more of Data Republican. Let's
more of Lisa too.
More of Lisa too, but see if we can get her early and do systems check and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean,
you can't say, hey, you want to join us with like 30 seconds before we go live because that.
No, I never in a trillion years thought she would say yes, but here we are. She did. And I'm shocked. But also we need to remember she just finished her book yesterday and it will be coming out. I'll let you guys know when it's coming out. She's not exactly sure yet, but we will definitely keep you up on that. And then I'm sure more books will come because she's got to explain all this in detail in book form so people understand what's happening and for history, for posterity's sake. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. If these people succeed, we got to have a history of how this happened and how we were all telling everybody this was happening and nobody was listening.
So, Nom, I want to wrap it up this way because I think I would hate to have your audience be disappointed if you don't get to touch on some of the things that you mentioned in your promo video. You see, one of the things that I'm seeing on social media right now from the propagandist arm of the left is that the Trump administration is in real legal trouble. They believe that not only Pete Hegseth is going to have to leave and possibly be prosecuted for murder because these people are freaking insane. There are people out there arguing that Donald Trump is a hair's breadth away from being impeached because they're freaking insane. And yet these folks are actually facing real life potential prosecution for what they're doing. Just the Seditious Six. Talk a little bit about what you found on top of 2387.
Yeah. So real quick, let me bring these up here. So we've been talking about, I think in the last episode, we were talking about USC 2387, right? Which is basically the statute. It's basically, it talks about like verbal and writing and trying to influence and affect, good order generally of the military and all of those things. I don't think people actually read far enough down in there when they were looking at 2387 because Section B actually has a very significant enhancement. And basically, what 18 USC 23 is actually, we need to get a different one up here. We need number 7, I believe it is. Yeah. Okay. So 18 USC 2387, right? There is a special rule, Section B, that comes into play during war or declared military operations, right? So instead of just generally, trying to impact and create chaos and do all those things that we saw the seditious six doing, they're actually doing this during declared military operations. So basically, if the conduct occurs with intent to interfere with military operations during a time of war or military operation authorized by Congress, the penalty increases dramatically, up to 20 years in prison. If the conduct causes the death of a U.S. service member, life imprisonment, or the death penalty becomes possible. So there's an enhancement here. So I was like, well, that's really interesting, because I know we have literally nobody has declared war in this country since World War II. It hasn't happened. So I was like, well, that's very interesting. Does 2387 Section B, wait, hold on, that's not it. We need this one. Does Section B actually come into play? What in the world is happening? There we go. So I think it does. So analysis of U.S. operations against Venezuela drug boats under 18 U.S.C. 2387. So, I mean, at the end of the day, yes. What is happening right now against the narcoterrorists and the Venezuelan narcoterrorists actually is considered declared military operations under the War Powers Resolution. So, based on the statutory language, 18 U.S.C. 2387B, the enhanced penalties for interference in connection with any operation of the armed forces pursuant to any authority provided by Congress. So the key question then comes in is are we operating under authority by Congress? And the answer to that is yes. It hinges on congressional authority, which can include statutes, funding, or notifications under the War Powers Resolution. And here's essentially what happens, right? So again, 2387B, that trigger is a yes. These military operations are approved by Congress, right? Because the president filed the War Powers Resolution, the 4A1 48-hour report to Congress. He did that. The ops are funded by the annual NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and counter drug operation appropriations. And they're supported by existing statutes, narcotics kingpin laws, post 9/11 emergency. DOJ is treating this as pursuant to the authority provided by Congress, which means the enhancement comes into play here. But that's not the only thing that we're seeing, right? Because there are other statutes that are also in play. So 2387A is in play. 2387B enhancement is definitely in play. But we also have the benefit of 18 USC 371. We got to find these. I think we're 8 and 9, maybe.
Yep.
Oh, that's 2387. Nope. What is 9? Give me 9. Oh shoot, we need to knock some of these down.
Yeah, I'll get them off.
Remove from studio.
I just want to say I'm so glad that I don't get to see all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, because I would screw it up.
You got all these things loaded up here, don't you? Which one do you need?
I need 372, right? I need 372, which
It's
is
right
what I
there.
got.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's
And
what
I'm
I
going
need.
to put it on the big screen so everyone else can see it. There you go.
Right. So we know 18 USC 371 is a general conspiracy statute, right? So basically any law, any federal statute, if 2 or more people conspire to do it, then 371 comes into play. It's general conspiracy, which, by the way, is where you're going to see the years-long conspiracy get stitched together. Except, however, you're likely going to see that stitched together by 18 USC 372, which is different than 371, and that is a conspiracy to impede or injure a federal officer in the discharge of his duties. By the way, the president is indisputably a federal officer holding an office under the United States. So the statute explicitly protects the lawful discharge of the duties of that office. So every single thing that we have seen happen, we've heard folks like Mike Davis and others talk about, conspiracy against rights under the color of law and all of those things. There's also 372, which comes into play specifically when they are trying to impact and stop and prevent the commander-in-chief from doing his job to give direction to his chain of command. I mean, these guys are stitching together their own conspiracy cases all the way up and down the line of these statutes.
That's right. That's right. All right, we're going to wrap with this. I haven't watched this full clip, but everyone's talking about it, so I'm going to throw it up. Apparently, this is Mark Kelly just earlier today.
Real quick, before you do that, I want to address one comment I see in the down here in the Rumble. Boggs Clan, it's a gray area. I agree, it may be a gray area, but let's refer back to what I said about the process is the punishment. You have to charge these people with these crimes and make them go through the process of defending themselves. The Department of Justice can build a case. If they have the right venue, they can bring the evidence and they can get the indictment. There's no question about that. They have to be forced to go through the process. They have to put their sacred treasure and their lives on the line, because right now they're putting nothing on the line because there's no repercussions. There's no consequences.
Well,
we're going to have to force them.
The only thing they're putting on the line, the only thing that's being put on the line is our money. Because you remember how earlier we were talking about the color revolution steps 1 through 5 have literally been in play and active for decades. Folks, I hope you understand that we paid for all of it.
Almost all of it.
Almost every inch of the NGO network around this world, we paid for it. It came from our dollars. It came from our money. We paid for all of it. Almost every penny that George Soros and his organization, quote unquote, donates to these NGOs comes from us.
Yep.
We give it to him.
USAID.
We give him money, and then he turns around and tries to destroy our country with it. That's the bottom line. All right. I want to wrap with this. I haven't watched this full clip, but I have a sense of that this might be one of the reasons why what you just talked about, Nom, might be one of the reasons why he is sounding very nervous here.
Threatening to kill me for saying what is true.
Start that over again.
President Trump is trying to silence me, threatening to kill me for saying what is true. And he sent his Secretary of Defense after me.
It's Secretary of War.
Here's how we got here. A week and a half ago, Senator Slotkin and I, along with others who also served in the military and the intelligence communities, we released a video with a simple message to service members that they must refuse illegal orders. Nothing was controversial about that.
Breaking federal laws.
Everyone must follow the law. No one may break the law. This is pretty.
No, real quick. I want to stop here for a second. Can you talk a little bit about whether or not rank and file members of the military are in a position to determine whether or not an order coming down is legal or not?
No, in fact, that's the entire point. They don't want them to make that decision. What they have already stated multiple times they expect them to do is run to the JAG officer and get clarification, which, by the way, is the exact confusion that they are trying to create. Nothing will be able to get done, which is what they want. That's the entire point of this. No, the rank and file are not in a position to determine whether something is lawful or not. They are to trust that orders that make it down, all the way down through their chain of command, have been fully vetted by the White House counsel, by the Department of Justice, by the Pentagon's lawyers, by the Joint Chiefs of Staff's lawyers, and the command judge adjutant general, all the way down the command structure before it gets to them. And it has, just like every single one of these orders that have been that made it down. The only time the rank and file should ever really be questioning the legality of an order is if they're out somewhere on patrol and you've got a platoon commander or you've got something like that who sees a building or they see a village and they're told to go wipe out and destroy that village. Okay. But they'll know if the force that they're using is legal or if it's not legal. What they want these people to do is to say, I don't know about that. I need to call a JAG officer before I do that, which is the exact confusion they're trying to create.
That's right. Everything's about delay and confusion and division. Mm-hmm. That's the whole motive of a color revolution. And then by the time that the party who's supposed to be standing for the rule of law finally wakes up to the fact that what's going on, they're already at step 7, which is where we are right now. Folks, if you're not on the phones or burning up the emails or using whatever social media platform you have to hammer every single Republican within your reach and ask them why they are not talking about the fact that we are at the 2-yard line, first down, and they're getting ready to push the ball in the end zone. I don't think you folks understand. You guys do, because this audience is incredible. But I don't think people understand what happens when they do finally succeed of taking over the federal government and taking over this country. If you haven't, you need to go read the Revolutionary Communist Constitution. I already posted it. You can go read it. It's disgusting. It's Orwellian. It's 1984 on steroids. And you and me and everybody else, it doesn't work out well for us. Sorry, SK, you were going to say something, and I just talked right over top of you.
I was just wanting to say something for Mark Kelly, because all I could think about the whole time he was speaking was I need to find a Kleenex to wipe these tears because I have the world's smallest violin for this guy. I do not feel sorry for him one bit. And I love the fact they're still repeating that everyone must follow the law thing. Like they actually believe that.
Yeah. Not a single one of them believe it.
As we just rattled off 3 different laws that they broke, not including Article 90 or not Article 90, Article 94 of the UCMJ, which is what he has to worry about.
Breaking big rocks into little rocks. That's what he has to worry about. All right, folks, this was fun. We know it's a little discombobulated, but we will invite Data Republican here every time she says she's available, and we will throw out the script if we have to. She is incredible. The work that her, Lisa, and SK are doing is going to change the future of this country. If we can just get our Republican leaders to get their heads out of their asses and do something about it. Because they can post all day long and research all this stuff all day long. But unless we have people that are actually willing to get to work, none of it matters.
Yes. And I promise I'll get back on schedule and get back to researching and back to regular life. It's been so crazy the last 2 weeks, but I just want to say thank you to everyone that's reached out to me and sent messages. And you guys have been so kind, and I really do appreciate it.
Well, we love you, SK. Folks, if you haven't followed us on all the different social medias, you have to. You have to. There's no reason why we should have almost 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, less than 1,000 on Rumble. Like, those numbers should be even. Go to Rumble, subscribe. Go to YouTube, subscribe. Go to @PSPod25 on X and subscribe. Well, follow. Do it everywhere. That's what helps these videos make it out across the different social media platforms. That's what helps the algorithms if you guys do that. And it's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. Not one penny.
Not one dime.
It takes like 3 seconds.
Totally free.
Not one dime. Totally free. All right, folks. Wednesday, what I want to do, as long as nothing major happens, is I think we need to actually go through and start talking about who these seditious 6 people are. Because something that SK continues to remind us, they all come from the same networks. They all come from the same people. In fact, they seem to have all been recruited by the same group of people too.
Every single one. And I don't know if you saw what I posted because I was only on for a few minutes and I posted it and then I walked away and forgot to send it to you guys. But our friend that also kind of researches the same type of things has been working on putting the Dignity Index coders to some of them together in their bios and their connections. And you should go look at that because, again, all connected, all same pipeline, radicalization, bottom up issues, all the way from your local level, all the way to the federal level. It's happening in your city. It's happening in your state. You need to pay attention.
I'm going to say this and then we're going to play the video. I'm becoming increasingly more convinced that the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a signal to these people that it was time to accelerate. Because when you find out that most of the seditious 6 were recruited by organizations that are very closely connected to the Dignity Index people, who are very closely connected to the radical trans Tifa organizations, who we believe were directly responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it's going to blow your mind. And we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. Because you all need to know it.
Sounds good.
One last message for Roger Wicker. I'm responsible for making the show clips, and I will be clipping the shit out of my rant against you, and that will go all over the socials.
We're
All
gonna
of them,
hear.
Roger Wicker. All of them.
We're gonna hear about
In fact,
this.
that might be the only thing that I clip is that. Because I'm coming
I'm okay
for
with
your
that.
ass, Roger Wicker. I'm coming for your ass.
How's Mrs. Nom feel about that? Does she even know that you decided you're coming for his ass?
She doesn't watch the entire. She watches like the first half, and then she gets bored.
Oh, so my spouse isn't the only one. I'm glad.
No,
But-
mine does it too.
She listens to me talk all day long. She doesn't want to hear me like on a platform talking.
But I'll be your campaign manager, and we have to have campaign signs that say "Nom for fucking Senate." The way you said that was epic.
Yeah.
I
Fair
think
enough.
we need somebody to make a logo for us. Nom or effing Senate. You can spell it out. My wife will get mad at me, so I can't say it. All right, y'all. We're out. See you later. Have a great night.
The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcome should be.